Council of France in Rhode Island. I've had the privilege of serving in this role for the past 25 years, plus or minus. And I was talking to Ann, I asked her to remind me, how many years have we been doing this, getting together to celebrate the Francophonie during this time, flag raising? And she said it's been about 13 years that we've been doing this, and it's always a wonderful occasion on this day, as it is for all of us who live in Rhode Island. Over the last couple of weeks, that we celebrate the many ethnicities of people who live in our state. And, but today is our day to celebrate the French language, the French culture. And we have some distinguished guests who are here who are going to be speaking and to bring greetings. But before we begin with the speaking program, we're actually going to have some entertainment. And many of us know about the French American School here in Providence that does a wonderful job right on the east side of Providence. And they're going to begin by entertaining us, the choir, who's going to be entertaining us with a few songs. So I am pleased to introduce the French American School of Rhode Island Choir. And let me introduce the head of school of the French American School, is Benedict Broder. And let's hear it again for the choir for the French American School. Obviously, this was the highlight of the whole program, right? I am so pleased to begin the speaking program to bring greetings on behalf of the state to introduce our Secretary of State, Greg Moore. And you know, it was so fitting that Greg felt like he was back in his earlier career in school, having a group of students in front of him singing like this. So he spent a whole career as a school teacher, although I think you taught high school, is that correct? But that's all right, you get the same feeling back that you're back in school. But having moved on from that career, we are just delighted that Greg Moore, after spending many years in the state legislature, having been elected, newly elected Secretary of State, would take the time to be here today to bring greetings to us on behalf of the state of Rhode Island. Secretary of State Moore.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you, Ann. Thank you to my colleagues in government here. We have Representative Casey, Representative Breen, and Representative Phillips from the great city of Woonsocket. We have our friends and dignitaries from Canada and France. Welcome. I had an opportunity to speak to them before the event. It was fantastic. I fear that I will, and I see Representative Cruz here, I fear that I will disappoint. I am not cute, nor am I entertaining, nor do I sing well, and I know I don't have any parents or grandparents that are proud of me in the audience, but I'll do my best, and I do appreciate the Lieutenant Governor pronouncing my name in the French way, Amour. So welcome. As the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, I spent most of my career as a history teacher at East Providence High School, 27 years teaching advanced placement U.S. history. And so I know well the contributions that the French have made to the survival of the United States and to its current existence, and likewise the support that the United States has given to French. We are about to embark on the celebration of the 200th celebration and commemoration of the 250th anniversary of American independence, which is linked to the French support. And around Rhode Island and up and down the East Coast, you will notice the signs along the route, the Washington-Rochambeau route, revolutionary route, which was 700 miles, that started in Newport, Rhode Island, and made its way to victory at Yorktown. The French support in the fight for American independence began here with the Battle of Rhode Island in Portsmouth. We are inextricably tied to one another. But it did not stop there, as you know. The Americans and the French stood side by side at Saint-Mihiel and other places in World War I. The French resistance, the Canadians and the Americans at Normandy, and in both cases fighting for what we had always been fighting for: liberty, democracy, and against what we had always been fighting against: tyranny, despotism. There is a tremendous link between the nations that survives to this day. When I was an AP history teacher, I talked a lot about the Marquis de Lafayette as the boy general. And my students were always impressed that he came here only a few years older than they were as they sat in my classroom. And he sacrificed everything for what he believed in as the cause of freedom and self-government. And so we would talk about that, and eventually we would get to a discussion of World War I and the American Expeditionary Force, first a very small force entering Paris, and a celebration on July 4th of 1917, where General Pershing, the leader of the American Expeditionary Force, and Colonel Stanton were there at a ceremony commemorating July 4th, the American Independence Day, but also honoring Lafayette at his tomb. And it was at this event, this solemn and celebratory event, the world was engrossed in a terrible, terrible world war, that General Pershing and Colonel Stanton bowed before Lafayette's tomb and said, "Lafayette, we are here," paying him back for what he had done for our nation. And my students loved the fact that as they stood near Lafayette's grave, they stood on both French and American soil, because Lafayette's wish was to be buried not only in French soil, but with the soil from Bunker Hill sprinkled atop his grave. And so it was. And that connection survives today, and the bond between the two nations survive today, and we can never forget that we are not here today as this great, independent, free, liberty-loving nation without the aid of the French. Now, it's not all good, and as I said to our friends, I spent many years chasing hockey players in Rhode Island with French surnames on their back, and they always defeated me both as a player and a coach. Northern Rhode Island was a hotbed, and as I mentioned, I visited Quebec a number of times as a player and then a coach, and I honestly have no good memories of playing against French Canadians. So that's the bad part of the story. The good part of the story is the great contributions that French Americans have made, not only here in Rhode Island, but across the nation. I am honored to be here to represent the state. I am honored to welcome you to the State Room. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary of State. Having a history teacher as our Secretary of State is wonderful. For you to be able to recall and to remind all of us of that history and that friendship that goes back to the American Revolution, and how we've gone back and said thank you and back and forth. So this is a long and enduring friendship between our countries, which is so special. And so thank you so much for those words well spoken. On behalf of the House of Representatives, which is in session probably as we speak, not quite yet, huh? They used to go into session a long time ago when I was there. But we have, from the city of Woonsocket, we have three of our fine state representatives, and we have Representative Steve Casey, Bob Phillips, and John Brian, and want to invite them up to say a few words. And I think you also have a presentation here.
Okay. You guys come on up. Bonjour mes amis. Bienvenue à notre célébration de la langue et la culture de français. Ma ville de Woonsocket has une rich history de la culture française. Everybody know? You know what I said? I do. Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the State House. From the Irish. Yes. I just had St. Patrick's Day. I left my green jacket at home. Thank you all for being here at the State House. It's great to celebrate the Francophone culture and the many contributions of our Francophone community. My name's Steve Casey. This is Representative Bob Phillips, Representative John Brian, and we are here to celebrate with you. I'd like to thank all of our guests. We have, and I'm going to introduce them. We have the Quebec delegate to New England, Ms. Marie-Claude Francoeur, and we will all have them up for a brief presentation as well. Consul General of France, Mustapha Soykert. Thank you, sir. Canadian Consul, Head of Public Affairs, Political and Economic Relations, Marc-Antoine Dumas. And of course, Ms. Anne Conway of our Museum of Work and Culture. Thank you for being here as well. Woonsocket is a very proud city with a very proud and rich history. We wouldn't be anything that we are today without the many contributions of the Francophone community, especially the French-Canadian community. For over 300 years, the French-Canadian community helped build our city, build our state, and our country. French-Canadians played a vital role in making Rhode Island and the United States an industrial powerhouse by building our textile industry. French-Canadian workers played the vital role in military history, helping supply our troops in World War II. and the French Canadians continue to contribute to the economy and culture of Woonsocket on a daily basis. I'm proud of our city, and I'm grateful, and I speak for my representative friends as well, for the people who keep the Francophone language and culture alive. Thank you all for having me here as we celebrate our city and state and the Francophone culture that helps keep us all strong. Now I'm going to turn it over to Representative Phillips and Brian. We have some citations for our guests. Thank you. Oh, also, Representative Maury, thank you for the unnamed shout-out. Secretary Maury, my friend. We came into the House together, and I'm glad you remember history, even though it wasn't so great for you in sports in high school. It was a great shout-out for the Mount St. Charles Mounties, is what that was. Thank you very much. John and Bob.
So we've got some citations and greetings from the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader, and so we'd like to hand them out now. I'm going to read one because they say the same for all, but we do want to recognize each and every one of our esteemed guests. There's a citation to be it hereby known to all that Rhode Island House of Representatives hereby offers its sincere congratulations to all of you in recognition of your keeping the French-speaking language and culture vibrant and for your participation in the Francophone flag-raising ceremony. And this is from the entire membership and proposed by Stephen Casey, John Brian, and Bob Phillips, and signed by Speaker Joe Sicarci and Majority Leader Christopher Blazajewski, and of course Minority Leader Michael Chippendale, and we thank you very much. Now I'm going to hand each one of you them, and I'm going to give one to Roger Beejam first. Now Roger probably has, I don't know, the Lieutenant Governor has about 10,000 of these in his home. So that's not the first. The Consul General of France, Mustafa Soykert. Mrs. Marie-Claude Francoeur, the Quebec delegate to New England. Marc Antoine Dumas, Canadian Consul, Head of Public Affairs. Antoine Jeancois, President, Alliance Française of Providence. And Mr. Michael Heber, President of the American Association Teachers of French. And thank you for being here. And of course, as one Irishman and two French Canadians, we definitely appreciate You're not French Canadian?
No.
What are these guys even doing here? I'm the only French Canadian.
But today, all of us are French
Yeah,
Canadians.
today we all celebrate Francophone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Governor.
I'm gonna say one little thing.
Okay.
I actually wasn't going to speak, but I do want to give a shout out to my friend Ann Conway. Learned so much from her. This woman is an amazing person. She really is. So, man. I don't remember when we first started. Back 2013, I think it was, when we started the bus trip up to Quebec. I learned so much on the bus trip. We had our mayor, a couple of our city councilors, all 3 state reps, all going up to Canada to talk about the Francophone, Francophile culture, and also trying to get together the route, a bus route, to come down and have somebody visit all different aspects of where the French Canadians had landed and decided to stay and build their lives there. And it was absolutely amazing. And the one thing I do remember is they said, we will never, ever forget Woonsocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Representatives. It's a pleasure. I'm delighted that you could be here this afternoon. And with the recognition of Ann Conway as the head of the Museum of Culture, the museum, as many of you know, is part of the Rhode Island Historical Society. And I want to also recognize Morgan Greff. Morgan is the executive director of the Historical Society. Joining us this afternoon to bring greetings and to say a few words are our friends to the north and our friends to the east. So we have from Quebec, the Quebec delegation as she's been introduced, but I'd like to recognize and ask her to come up to say a few words, Mrs. Marie-Claude Franco.
Bon, bonjour à tous. Merci beaucoup, Roger. Messieurs les députés, Monsieur le secrétaire d'État, collègues diplomates, chers et distingués invités, ça me fait énormément plaisir d'être avec vous aujourd'hui. Je vous dirais que dans les activités que nous faisons, celles qui concernent la francophonie, et surtout de pouvoir prendre un moment pour reconnaître notre héritage culturel, c'est ce que j'apprécie probablement le plus. Et je vous remercie, Marc-Antoine et Monsieur Moustapha, d'être avec nous aujourd'hui pour être capable de célébrer cette journée et ce mois de la francophonie au Rhode Island et en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Merci beaucoup, Anne, pour l'organisation de cet événement. Ça fait plusieurs qu'on fait ensemble. I like to say that Anne is my soul sister. We sort of grew up and come from the same area in the province of Quebec. So, and we've been doing this together for many years, and it's always a pleasure. She is so generous with everything, and for organizing this, it's a phenomenal day. Merci beaucoup, Anne. From the length of my salutations and the numerous distinguished guests that we have, I think that it's fair enough to say that Rhode Island and the members of the legislature give great importance to its Francophone and Francophile constituents. About 17% of the Rhode Island population identified as Francos, as they call themselves, and in the census of 20,000. They are descendants of immigrants, they're mémés and pépés, who came from Canada at the turn of the 20th century and who brought and continue to bring significant contributions and to the region, I'm sorry. If this event is possible today, it's because of the many people in your communities that are committed to make French not only a part of their heritage, but also a part of the future. And the future is bright. While it is essential to continue celebrating our heritage, it is equally important to ensure vitality of la francophonie by working actively to prevent isolation and to nurture the francophone community and lovers of the French language, les amoureux de la langue française. And I would like to end with this. We can easily say that Rhode Island and Quebec have developed a strong relationship, not only in hockey. And just to humor you, Mr. Secretary, when I was younger, I wanted to be a hockey player. And considering my age, that was not a possibility. Then I wanted to become a hockey coach. Do you know how relieved my father is that that never happened? So we are fortunate to be able to work together, and we are sure to develop it further in the years to come. Here's to all of you, Rhode Island, and to our friendship, à notre amitié. Merci.
Thank you very much. I said earlier that I have served as the Honorary Consul of France for 25 years. And I've had the privilege of working with the Consul General of France in Boston. There have been probably 7 or 8 that I've had the privilege of working with. And I don't mind saying that while I've had a chance to meet our Consul General, Mustafa Soykert, by Zoom and by telephone, today was for the first time I had a chance to meet him in person. And like his predecessors, he's a wonderful man who brings a great deal of enthusiasm to his leadership role representing France in the New England region. And it's my privilege to introduce now my new friend and the Consul General of France, the Consul General Soykert.
Merci beaucoup. Well, I have to say, I'm going to say a few words and to explain how we met the first time. He was in Florida. He had a shirt, you know the shirt you wear when you are close to the beach. And I was here, it was minus 40 degrees, and I was cold, it was hot, and he told me, hurry up, I have to go to the swimming pool. So this is how I first met Roger. I have to say that we are very grateful, and I want to say it publicly. Thank you for the work you've done for the French government, but almost, well, for the Francophonie and also the French culture, French language here in Rhode Island. Merci beaucoup. I had a long speech with all detail, but I have to confess that Secretary of State and Marie-Claude have killed I've killed it. Well, they said it all. I have nothing to say. Well, this is all done. I had a joke about Mimis and Pepes. This is done. I had a joke also. I had also something to say about Normandy, Lafayette, Rochambeau. Well, Secretary of State said it all and better than I would. So, well, I'm not going to. Well, I can talk about St. Patrick's Day. This is something I can do. I was there in Boston. But what I want to do is to tell you that I am very grateful for the work you've done, the work you are doing. I would like to thank Benedict. Merci beaucoup. It was very moving to see those little kids singing in French. Merci Antoine pour le travail que vous faites pour l'Alliance française. I would like to thank also the states and the cities here in Rhode Island to preserve this community, the French-speaking community. I'm not going to talk about the past, just a couple of words for the future. What we want to do is to help you, to help the French language in American public schools, to allow you to keep this heritage, but also to have that tool, because speaking French is also a tool you can have for the future. We have French companies here in Rhode Island, but also in New England. You are close to Quebec, and speaking French can be both the past, the heritage, and a projection, something you can have for the future. I was born in a Turkish family. I was born in Paris, but in my house, we didn't speak French. I learned French, and with French, now I am here as Consul General of France. My wife is French, and I have kids speaking French, English, and Italian. And well, this is what it is about. So you will always find my country close to you, willing to help you to learn French. Je vous ai oublié, Michel. I forgot also the head of the ATF in Rhode Island. Thank you also for the work you're doing. And you will find us always on your side to help you. So we are close to those who are helping you. If you need anything, nous sommes là à vos côtés. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. It's a pleasure to have you here at our beautiful State House. You know, this is as much of a celebration not only about French and French culture and the language, but it's about a celebration of friends. We talk about our friendships to the province of Quebec, to the long friendship, as our Secretary of State described so well, the long association with France, and then to the north of us, the government of France, of Canada. The bond of friendship is so strong and it's so important to all of us, and we're proud that it has that common thread of French. And so I am really especially pleased to recognize and ask to come up to say a few words, Marc-Antoine Dumas from the Canadian Council to say a few words.
Merci beaucoup, and it's the first time that we meet, but I've heard so many things about you, it feels like I've known you forever. So, and thank you very much, Mr. Secretary, and it's a magnificent room to be in, so it feels like a privilege, so thank you very much. Also for not only the warm welcome, but the fun ceremony. It's not often in my job that I have fun like this, so thank you for this. And the one thing I wanted to say, we are best friends, partners, and allies, but except on the ice. That's the one exception. So I'm really happy that you've got bad memories from playing hockey. And I'm a diplomat, so I don't know, maybe I'm not doing my job right. But So like Mustafa, pretty much everything that I was hoping to say has been said, so I will not repeat it. But I just want to highlight how I found that the kids that sung were such a beautiful and strong way to express the importance, the value, and beauty of the French language and how it binds us together. So I'm not sure who organized that, but thank you for this. And the other thing that is clear is that because we share the same heritage, it's not just that we have a common culture, it's also because we are family. And this is really important. That's why we can always count on one another and that we know that we can trust one another. And President Biden is flying to Ottawa today for a 2-day visit, and I believe that will be at the heart of the meeting with Prime Minister Trudeau, that friendship, but also that family bond that we share. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, the organization that actually brings this together is the League of Francophonie and Francophile Organizations of Rhode Island. And so speaking on behalf of that group is Antoine Jancois, who is the president of the Alliance Française of Providence. But before Antoine comes up, we also have a few other people here from the Alliance. My longtime friend and person who has been a big part of the Alliance Française in Rhode Island, which is such an important organization that is all about what we're celebrating today, right, Dominique? And Dominique Gregoire is here, and I want to thank him for taking the time to be here. We have from Newport, Michael Warren. Michael, you here? There you are. Thank you very much for being here as well, Michael, and I think you have some of your other colleagues here. So thank you all very much for being here. And so now let me just invite Antoine to come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Secretary of State, Woonsocket representatives, Monsieur le Consul, Madame Francoeur, le délégué du Québec en Nouvelle-Angleterre, Monsieur Dumas, et notre ami Roger Bégin, chers représentants de la francophonie, mesdames et messieurs. I'd like to start my speech by recognizing somebody in the crowd, still because we're here to celebrate francophonie in all its form. So I'd like to recognize Madame Aline Binyungu. Over there, yes. You can applaud Aline, yeah. So Aline is Executive Director of Women's Refugee Care on Broad Street in Providence, who for many years has been helping immigrants from our native country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and from all over Africa, many of whom speak French, settle in Rhode Island. Please, Aline, you stood up, and give her, again, a round of applause for all the good work she does. So it's my great pleasure and honor to speak today at the annual Francophone flag-raising ceremony at the beautiful Rhode Island Statehouse. My name is Antoine Jonquet. I'm the president of the board of the Alliance Française in Providence, and I am speaking today on behalf of the League of Francophone and Francophile Organizations of Rhode Island. But before introducing you to the several organizations that compose the League, I'd like to start with a very short personal story, and I promise I will try to not make it boring. When I moved to Rhode Island, I came from France, in Normandy particularly. I settled in Scituate at the end of 2015, and some people unaware of my personal situation and my personal motive to do so qualified this move as strange, weird, or as we say in French, bizarre. What are you going to do in Rhode Island? They said, what is there in this tiny state? Why not Boston or New York City? It's the things that you point to on a map. Well, first of all, Rhode Island had all the appeal it needed for me because this is where my then fiancée and now wife was. So, it was really a no-brainer. Yeah. But having been in Rhode Island several times before, I had also been seduced by the state itself. You know, from its beautiful seaside to its quaint countryside, from its vibrant cultural and culinary scene here in Providence to its historic rural towns and villages. But what I didn't know moving here was that I was about to discover, through the intermediary of my good friend Dominique Grégoire, a rich and lively Francophone environment. And not just in the academic setting, where multiple schools and universities across the state offer programs to learn and study French. It's also through multiple organizations whose common purpose is to offer Rhode Islanders access to content, classes, and events pertaining to the French language and its history in the region. So today I'm going to talk briefly about the 5 entities that make up the League of Francophone and Francophile Organizations in Rhode Island. I will begin with the Museum of Work and Culture in Woonsocket, represented here by its director, Anne Conway. The museum recounts the story of the many immigrants who came from Quebec to the Blackstone River Valley, bringing along with them the French language. Indeed, in 1920, 70% of Woonsocket's population was of French and French-Canadian descent. And as of 2000, this number was still around 46%. The city has referred itself as la ville la plus française des États-Unis, or the most French city in the United States. Anyway, if you want to see it for yourself, I recommend you pay a visit to the museum, of course, where Anne's team will welcome you, and also attend their Salute to Spring, Bonjour Printemps event that will be held on the afternoon of Sunday, April the 2nd. There will be music, there will be magic, pastries, and of course, poutine will be served. Also, we are very fortunate to count as member of the League the Rhode Island chapter of the AATF, the American Association of Teachers of French, represented here by its president, Michael Hébert. The Rhode Island, yeah, you can applaud. The Rhode Island chapter of the AATF, the largest association of teachers of French in the USA, serves the interests and needs of teachers and students of all levels in the state of Rhode Island. It sponsors various activities for students and professional development opportunities for teachers as well. And they sponsor the annual National French Contest, which is called Le Grand Concours, which in Rhode Island alone has more than 1,000 students participating each year. And you will be able to see a great example of their contribution as Mr. Hébert came today accompanied with some of his students, and you will be hearing from them immediately after me, I believe. Another prominent member of our league is the FASRI, the French-American School of Rhode Island, represented here by its director, Bénédicte Brouder, and who's... You heard our student choir at the beginning of the ceremony. Since 1994, FASRI has been offering a dual language, French and English, education for children from preschool through 8th grade, combining the rigorous requirements of the French education system and the high standards of American independent schools. Thank you again to the student and their teachers for the musical performance at the beginning of the ceremony. Now, turning to the alliances, alliance with an S in French to mark the plural, because Rhode Island is lucky not to have one, but 2 chapters of Alliance Française. First, the Alliance Française of Newport, represented here by its president, Michael Warren, its vice president, Barry Bailey, and its secretary, Bobby Warren. The Alliance Française of Newport offers 4 levels of French classes, as well as events hosted in beautiful historic Newport landmarks, such as the Redwood Library. As a matter of fact, the Alliance Française of Newport will be hosting a presentation about items related to French literature and history, which will be featured in the upcoming exhibit, Treasures of the Redwood, celebrating 275 years. The Alliance Française of Newport is also a sponsor to the Salve Regina French Film Festival, which is taking place right now until March 30th, with the screening of no less than 6 French movies at Salve Regina University. And finally, we have the Alliance Française of Providence, represented here by its executive director, Dominique Grégoire, a few of our board members over there, and myself. Our alliance was founded in 1901, 122 years ago, as the third chapter in North America. Today, there are 104. We are proud of counting over 300 active members and to offer not only French classes, but also Spanish, Italian, Arabic, and French Creole. Our Alliance will be the sponsor to the Brown University 2023 French and Francophone Film Festival, which will take place from April 6th to April 12th at the Avon Theater in Providence. We're also very fortunate to have found a home in a beautiful house in the Elmhurst neighborhood of Providence, which I am inviting all of you to visit right after the ceremony ends, as we will be hosting there a reception where food and drinks will be served. The address is 928 Smith Street, and we'll open our doors for you at 4:30 p.m. Thank you all very much for joining us today, and I hope to see you at the Alliance right after. Merci beaucoup.
Antoine, thank you so much for your presentation, your remarks. Before I introduce our last speaker, who always brings with him a delegation of students, I do want to just recognize a few other people who are worthy of recognition here this afternoon. We have an organization that has, as long as as a child I can remember, Club Richelieu in Woonsocket, and I'm glad to see that Trudy is here, Trudy Rayom, and you have some of your colleagues that are here. So thank you all for being here this afternoon. Thank you very much. And then we also have Sean Quirk, who's here from the Rhode Island International Film Festival. Sean, where is you? What's that? Oh, okay. Anyway, but so thank you all. Thank you for being here. But as I said, Michel Libert is it's always a treat to have him here. He's been recognized as the president of the AATF of Rhode Island, and he is a teacher at Classical High School. And with that, Michel, please come up.
Okay. Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis content d'être ici une nouvelle fois dans cette belle salle pour célébrer la francophonie dans le Rhode Island. De plus, je vous envoie des salutations de mon association, l'Association américaine des professeurs de français. Au nom de la ATF, je vous souhaite une très bonne fête de la francophonie. I'm honored to be back here at the Capitol to celebrate Francophonie on behalf of the American Association of Teachers of French. And what's more, I'm proud to be introducing a group of students from Classical High School in Providence. They are students who have studied at various stages of their education, some of whom have been studying the language and Francophone cultures since elementary school. It's gratifying to me to see them grow in their cultural and linguistic knowledge to important skills in our present day. These students benefit from a high school which truly supports world language education. In fact, Classical High School offers 5 world languages, one of which, of course, is le français. For this, I'd like to publicly thank, once again this year, Principal Scott Barr for his continued appreciation and French and Francophone studies as part of the curriculum, as well as the Classical Alumni Association for their generous support. Thank you. Okay. How about saying bonjour to my students there? All right, très bien. Before I have them come up and present, I just want to call your attention to another student. We call it un stagiaire, une stagiaire in French. This past year, I had the wonderful opportunity to have a student teacher from Rhode Island College. She spent the last so many years with me and is now studying at another, doing her student teaching at another school. And her name is Emmanuelle Bordeaux, and she's originally from Haiti. She has a degree in music, but has decided to further her education and get certified in French, and she'll have her certification by school year's end. So Bonjour, Emmanuel. Okay. To honor the language of Molière and all its cultural diversity, the students will be presenting themselves en français, bien sûr, and expressing their thoughts on their studies of French. Alors, mesdames et messieurs, je vous présente les élèves de Classical High School.
Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Charlotte Canning et j'étudie à Classical High School. Moi, j'ai appris le français depuis 12 ans. Alors, j'ai commencé quand j'avais 3 ans avec mes amis Enza et Zazie. On est allé à Fassery. Pour moi, la culture française est très unique et très importante. Parler la langue m'a donné beaucoup d'opportunités, comme je peux faire des nouveaux amis, je peux écouter de la musique, et je peux même visiter des pays dans chaque continent, parce qu'il y a toujours un pays qui parle français. Parler la langue est utile parce qu'on peut faire toutes ces connexions qu'on ne pouvait pas faire avant. C'est quelque chose pour moi qui est une grande partie de mon identité, et c'est très spécial. Je vous remercie.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Enzaku Citron et j'ai 15 ans. J'étudie aussi à Classical High School. Et moi, j'ai commencé à étudier le français en maternelle à l'âge de 4 ans. Pour moi, la langue française représente un outil très important pour moi, car ça me permet de faire des connexions avec des personnes que je n'aurais pas eu la chance de rencontrer autrement. En parlant français, moi, j'ai fait quelques-uns de mes meilleurs amis. Et je suis tellement reconnaissante que cette langue m'a offert l'opportunité de connecter avec certaines de mes personnes préférées.
Bonjour à tous, je m'appelle Nina Fernandez et j'ai 14 ans. J'ai commencé à apprendre le français depuis que je suis née en fait, parce que je parle français dans ma famille, avec mes amis, et je lis mes livres, je regarde mes films et j'écoute mes musiques en français. Le français, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui fait partie de moi. C'est quelque chose qui pourra jamais... Ce sera quelque chose qui sera toujours à moi. Et voilà. Et donc, tous les 3 ans, je change de pays. Je suis expatriée et je suis arrivée aux États-Unis il y a 1 an, dans le Rhode Island. J'ai fait 1 an à l'école à Fassery, où je me suis fait des super amis et j'ai vraiment beaucoup aimé l'opportunité. Et maintenant, je suis à Classical High School et c'est la première fois de ma vie que je suis dans une école complètement anglaise et c'est une super expérience aussi. Mais voilà. Et donc j'ai commencé à apprendre l'espagnol, ce qui est super, et le français reste quelque chose que j'aime beaucoup.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Maya et j'étudie à l'école Classical High School. Je suis en 3e année et pour moi, le français, c'est une façon de ramener des gens ensemble. J'ai rencontré beaucoup de mes meilleurs amis en parlant en français et ça m'a beaucoup aidé dans la vie. Merci.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Safir Rai-Hoffman et je suis dans le cours français 4 à Classical High School. Pour moi, le français est très important à cause de mon héritage. Ma mère est née à Montréal et sa langue maternelle est le français. C'est pour ça que j'ai commencé à apprendre le français en CE1 à Fassery. Et être bilingue est une grande partie de mon identité et je suis très reconnaissant d'être bilingue et ça me permet de communiquer avec ma grand-mère et le monde francophone. Merci.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Juliane, j'ai 14 ans et j'ai dans le 3e. J'apprends français à Fassery et puis maintenant à Classical High School. Pour moi, le français est une langue rapproche les gens. Par exemple, quand j'étais 8 ans, j'écoutais beaucoup de musique et j'ai regardé beaucoup de télévision français et ça m'aidait beaucoup à parler français et être plus proche avec mes amis en classe. Merci.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Ava Flashman et je suis en 3e. J'ai commencé à apprendre le français quand j'avais 3 ans. J'ai déménagé à Paris quand j'avais 2 ans et demi avec mes parents. Pour moi, le français, ça signifie ma jeunesse. J'ai vécu à Paris pendant 7 ans et j'ai grandi dans une école bilingue. Même si je n'habite plus là-bas, ça sera toujours un élément indispensable de ma jeunesse et de moi. J'adore Paris, les souvenirs, les amis et la langue que j'ai retenue. Et oui, merci, je vous remercie.
Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Zazie. Je suis un sophomore classical. Je suis grecque, mais je parle français. Moi aussi, je suis allée à Fasserie dans la même année que Charlotte et Enza. Alors, j'ai commencé là quand j'avais 3 ans et j'ai continué là jusqu'au 8th grade. Mais quand j'étais en CP, en first grade, j'ai vécu 1 an à Paris. Et alors, ça m'a vraiment marqué. J'ai encore vraiment beaucoup de souvenirs de 7 ans et aussi, j'ai encore des amis là. J'ai aussi une connexion québécoise, car je vais à une camp française qui s'appelle le camp Tekakwitha, aussi avec Anza et Charlotte. Et alors, j'ai déjà expérimenté l'accent québécoise et j'aime vraiment aussi Montréal. Aussi, une autre chose, l'année prochaine, je vais étudier pour un semestre à Paris, je study abroad, et j'ai vraiment hâte pour ça, et j'ai hâte pour le futur. Merci beaucoup.
Bonjour, bon après-midi. Je m'appelle Malloy Campbell. Je venais de Jamaïque où j'ai commencé mes études de la française. J'ai 17 ans et je suis un senior de classical. Je crois que être polyglotte, les nerfs. Être un polyglotte aide à améliorer les liens entre deux pays.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Nathan King, j'ai 18 ans et je vais à Classical High School. J'ai étudié le français depuis 4 ans et j'aime le français car il me permet de parler à plus de gens.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Kensley Cadet, j'ai 16 ans. J'ai étudié le français depuis 4 ans à Classical High School. J'aime étudier le français parce que ma famille vient d'Haïti. Elle peut parler tous les deux le créole haïtien et le français.
Bravo mes élèves. Hein? OK. Merci beaucoup. À la prochaine.
Michel, to you and all of your students from Classical High School, I want to say thank you very much. I couldn't help but, as I'm sitting here listening to these students, and I'm thinking, there's nothing wrong with this generation, is there? If this is what we have that's going to be leading us in the future, well done to all of you. There we are. Take advantage of that one. How's that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal part of our program. I want to thank all of our students, both the big kids and the little kids that were here, our dignitaries that were here, our guests and friends. Thank you all for being here, being part of this important ceremony. We're going to now excuse ourselves and the House of Representatives, please go to the gallery on both sides of the chamber and watch the dignitaries who they know who they are will be accompanying us to the House floor. They will be have a chance to be recognized by our delegation from Woonsocket shortly. The bell that you hear ringing there is calling the members of the House of Representatives to the chamber before they begin the session. Again, thank you all very much and have a wonderful day.